Growing up a skeptic, I just assumed that Jesus was a stuck-up religious prude, like all the other religious people I knew. I gotta just assume that, right? I'm like, I can't see hardly anything up here if y'all turn the lights up, preaching lights up a little bit. So I just assumed Jesus was a stuck-up religious prude, like everybody else that I knew. And so religion for me was very easy to reject, very easy to just dismiss. But then in my 20s, I did something kind of weird. I decided to read the Gospels for myself. It's weird, isn't it? Like, who does that? Who reads the Gospels? Weirdos do. And that's what I did. I was like, hey, let me check this thing out, for myself. And so reading through the four Gospels, I was simply blown away by what I found there. So apparently Jesus hates religion too. Apparently he loves sinners. And apparently he came to serve the broken and the hurting and the outcast. Now this is very different from what I thought Jesus was all about, from what I thought religion was all about. And that was when I took my first tentative is the key word, tentative steps toward Christianity. But instead of finding and joining a religion, what ended up happening was I found something entirely different. What I found in Jesus was not a religion, but the end of religion altogether. You see, all religions are redundant to begin with. They're redundant. They're just self-salvation projects, all of them. Your salvation is entirely up to you. It's up to you, right? You've got to do X, Y, Z steps to achieve enlightenment or get to heaven or nirvana or call it whatever you wish. But it's all up to you. You got to make it happen. All the religious founder does is just show you the steps. Here's the steps. Do these and you'll be all right in the afterlife. But then Jesus comes along and makes plain the futility of every religious endeavor. He did not show up to tweak Judaism or create a new self-salvation project. From the cross, he declared, "It is finished." What's it? What is it that is finished? What is finished, friends, are all the religions, all the ways we imagine we can save ourselves by our good works. All that was crucified with Christ. All religions and their required sacrifices were rendered null by Jesus' once and for all sacrifice on the cross. Jesus makes this abundantly clear in his conversation with the Samaritan woman at the well. Let's check out that conversation, shall we? Turn with me to the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John, chapter 4, and we'll read verses 19 through 26. If you don't have a Bible here, that's okay. The verses are on the screen behind me. John chapter 4, verses 19 through 26. Jesus describes the end of religion. Verse 19. "Sir," the woman said, "I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem." "Woman," Jesus replied, "believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem." You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and His worshipers must worship in the Spirit and in truth. The woman said, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When He comes, He will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am He. This is God's word. Now, notice the woman has asked Jesus about religion. See? She's asked Jesus about which religion is right. The Samaritan's religion or the Jewish religion? Who's worshiping the proper way? Us or them? Right? Who's doing the right things? Who's checking the right boxes? Who's following the right steps? That's what she's asked him. And the reason she's so concerned about this is because Israel's worship, Israel's religion, does not include her. Because she is both a Samaritan and a woman of very questionable moral character. And so she's excluded right off the bat from Israel's religion because of who she is. They don't care how many steps or boxes she checks, she's out. So she's very concerned about this because she's like, well, wait a minute. If we're right, I'm okay. But if Israel's right, I'm doomed. I'm doomed. But notice how Jesus responds. Instead of pointing her to Jerusalem, to the temple, to the priests, to the sacrifices, Jesus pointed her to something totally unexpected. Something really, really strange. Instead of telling her what she must do to be saved, the steps she must take toward God, the boxes she must check, Jesus took everything she thought she knew about God, worship, and living in a way that pleases God and turned it all on its head. He pointed her to true worship. He pointed her to living water. Friends, He pointed her to Himself. Himself. Jesus told the woman that He is her oasis in the midst of a religious wasteland. She doesn't have to take steps toward God. God is taking steps toward her. You see, friends, religion is what we invent to bridge the unbridgeable expanse between ourselves and our Creator. There's a wall separating us. Religion is our attempt to get over the wall. But Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 2 that the wall of separation between God and us has been broken down forever by the bloody suffering and death of Jesus. Because of Jesus, friends, there is nothing that divides us or separates us from God. Nothing. Not our sin, not our race, not our family tree, nothing. Nothing. Christ breaks down and obliterates anybody and anything that gets between Him and you. Christ, not religion, is the way, the truth, and the life. He is. He's not come to show you the way, the truth, and the life. He's come to be the way, the truth, and the life for you. So, that begs the question then, why do we insist on constructing a new religion around him. We're constantly constructing a new religion around Jesus. Why do we do that? The reason is because Jesus is so darn offensive. He hurts our little feelings. He hurts mine. I know that. You see, for some reason, Jesus refuses to be domesticated by us. He won't wear a blue blazer and move to the suburbs. He just won't. That's annoying. It's super annoying. You know, when I read through the 4 Gospels, and if you read through them also, you know the Bible app is free. It'll actually read it to you. Read the Gospels to you. What we see there in those 4 Gospels, we see Jesus undercut every attempt by the religious leaders, by the crowds, and by his own disciples to turn his teachings into a religion. They're constantly trying to do that. Constantly trying to turn his teachings, his parables, everything, into a religion. And Jesus simply refuses to play by their spiritual and moral rules. He refuses. We see this in the many instances when religious leaders try to expose him as a lawless charlatan and trap him with questions about God's law. But each time Jesus turns the questions back on them in such a way that they come away from the conversation looking like the lawless ones. Let me give you one example. One time some religious leaders came to Jesus and they asked Jesus a law question. And Jesus responded with a law answer. Here's what happened. They came to Jesus and they said, "Teacher, which commandment is the greatest in Moses' teachings?" Jesus responded saying, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the greatest and most important commandment." Now, all the religious leaders of Jesus' day knew, all they knew was the law. That's all they knew. They knew the rules, baby. Don't drink, smoke, or chew, or run with girls who do. They know all the rules. That's what they think religion is. It's just the rules. That's all any religion knows, you see. It's all they know. Pick one. Islam, Jehovah's Witness, fill in the blank. It's all law. It's all law. Religion knows nothing about the gospel. Nothing. Only the law. So the only questions these guys know to ask Jesus are law questions. That's all they know. And a law question begs for a law answer. All religious questions beg for a law answer. For example, what must I do to be saved begs for a you must do X, Y, and Z answer, doesn't it? Law questions are begging for law answers. And so Jesus says to these fellows, he says, okay. Y'all want to give me a law question? I'll give you a law answer. If you want to get to heaven based on the law, fine. Fine. All you have to do is love God with every fiber of your being, every second of every day. And that's it. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, gentlemen. You see what Jesus is doing here with these men? He does not give a law answer to the religious leaders' question so that they can then get on with the business of saving themselves by their obedience. No, they gave him a law question. He gave him the real law as the answer. Nobody wants the real law. They want fake laws. They want watered down laws. They want doable laws, right? Like if you want a good moral teacher, please, friend, don't go to Jesus. Don't go to Jesus. If you want a good moral teacher where you can really start checking some boxes off, just go to Muhammad. Just go to Muhammad. All you got to do is stop eating bacon, which I admit is pretty hard to do. That's probably one box I wouldn't check in Islam. But Jesus doesn't say stop eating bacon and take a trip to Mecca. What does he say? He says, do the impossible. Do it. Love the Lord your God with all. Everybody say all. Love the Lord your God with all, 100% of your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Good luck to you. See, Jesus is giving these men the real law so that they'll be forced to see that it's impossible to obey the law. He wants them to see that the law is useless to get them to God. It's useless. He wants them to beg for the answer then what does? If the law won't get us there, what will? But these men don't go there with Jesus. They won't admit the plain truth that he's presented to them. Why? Because they've invested too much in their religion. They've invested everything in their religiosity. They've gone all in on religion, see? Pushed all their chips to the middle of the table on their efforts. And so rather than repent of their religiosity, they just stop asking Jesus questions. But what they don't know, or likely what they don't want to know, is that Christ commands the impossible, not for us to try to do our best at doing the impossible, but so that we'll stop trying altogether to do the impossible and admit that only Christ can do the impossible. This is why Jesus literally and explicitly says in Luke 18:27, what's impossible for you is possible with God. And friends, he does do it all for us. He does. You see, friend, you have not for one fraction of a second in your entire life loved the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Not for one fraction of 1 second. To even suggest that you have is paramount to blasphemy. But don't you see? There was never a fraction of 1 second of Jesus' life when he did not love the Lord his God with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. Not one fraction of 1 second. And his perfect righteousness is now credited to you as if it were yours for free by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone. See? Dear friend, because of Jesus, you are free. Free from all law questions and all law answers. Just ditch all that nonsense. Friend, you are free from every demand and threat and accusation of the law. You are free from fear, insecurity, and worry about where you stand with God. You are free because the Son has set you free himself. And when the Son sets you free, you are free indeed. But our freedom makes us uncomfortable, doesn't it? It makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands? Freedom makes us feel weird. Makes us feel naked. We're just walking around naked. What do we do with our freedom? This isn't going to work, Jesus. We just love our religion. We love our religious categories. We love our boxes to check. We love them. We cling to them, actually. We cling to them because we believe that it's those checklists that give us meaning and identity. We believe they provide us with control. We say, no. I'm not having a good life because of sheer grace. No, I'm having a good life because I earned it. I earned it. Things are going well for me because I go to church, because I pay my tithe, because I'm not gay. That's why things are going great for me. You see, our compulsive need to construct religious categories is a manifestation of our need to not only participate with God in bringing about our salvation, but also to be God in God's place. This goes all the way back to the garden. Did you know that the construction of religion really was the very first sin? It was Adam and Eve's desire to be God. That's what religion is. You save yourself. It's self-salvation. That's what all religion is. And this is why Jesus is so offensive to us. This gospel of free grace agitates us. If you don't believe me, I'll send you some emails from people who have visited this church and called me every name in the book, everything but a Christian. Why? Because they consider anything that tears control away from them to be toxic, to be dangerous. You have any idea how many times I've been called dangerous and toxic? No. We consider anything that rips the law away from us to be toxic and dangerous, even when it's God who's the one doing it. We love our checklists more than anything. And this is why we like to turn every text in the Scriptures about Jesus and His work for us, we turn them into a text that's about us and our work for Him. We just flip it. We turn gifts into guilt trips. When Jesus says, I stand at the door and knock, we actually think we have the desire and ability to open the door. When Jesus says, forsake everything if you want to be my disciple, we think dropping a few bucks in the offering plate will do the trick. When Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me, we actually think we can do it. Even though Peter's example in the same text shows us that all we actually do is spend every hour of every day trying to tear Jesus down off of His cross. Not only do we not take up our crosses, all we do is just attempt to rip Jesus down off the cross. And what does Jesus call that? What does he tell Peter that is? He says it's demonic. Religion is demonic. Jesus' response to Peter trying to take the cross away from him was, "Get behind me, Satan." Satan is the one handing out the religious checklists. Don't you see? Jesus is the one crucifying them. Christ just doesn't leave any room for us to work our way up to the proper level of religious activity, religious respectability. He doesn't set the bar high. He sets it impossibly high. If you want a moral teacher, go to Buddha. Go to Muhammad. Taking a trip to Mecca will be tough, but you can do it. Loving God with every fiber of your being, yeah, right. Love your neighbor equally as much as you love yourself, yeah, right. Jesus strips us of everything we bring to the table that can assist him in our salvation. Instead of telling us to clean up our lives, go to church, and earn our salvation, the Apostle Paul says this. He says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your doing, it is the gift of God." Instead of pointing us to ourselves, to our thoughts, to our words, to our works, Paul points to Jesus in Acts 17:28 and says, "In him we live and move and have our being." See? Jesus and Paul just won't play by our religious rules. They refuse to scratch our religious itch. Christ does not give us the go-ahead to erect a religious scaffolding around him that we call the Christian religion. And this really annoys us because we think it's a pretty good religion, as far as religions go. You know, I was watching on the TV, the news a few weeks ago that says there's a Christian revival going on in America right now. And I thought, oh boy, I'm going to wait for the commercial break and then just see what this revival is all about. And after the commercial, they came back on, they started describing this, quote, Christian revival in America. And about halfway through their description and people's interviews and things like that, I wanted to throw a hammer through my TV. I was like, that's just religion. What you're describing is religion. That's all that is, with just some Christianese thrown in. The name Jesus attached to it. It's nonsense. It's demonic, what you're describing. This is no revival at all. It's just more law, more rules. You see, for all our claims that this Christian religion is different and better than all the other religions, actually it turns out to be just more the same. It's more the same. It's no different at all. We just use Jesus' life to make us look respectable in the marketplace of religion. We do not preach a Jesus that is a stumbling block to religious people. We preach the opposite. We preach a Jesus who is a stumbling block to sinners. The gospel app is free. Read the 4 Gospels. Who is a Jesus a stumbling block to? Religious people. Who is he never a stumbling block to? Prostitutes, drunks, tax collectors, thieves, insurrectionists, etc., etc., etc. But the religion that was presented to me on the TV that day didn't look nothing like the life of Jesus. It was the opposite. They were preaching a Jesus who is good news to church people. He's not offensive to our moral sensibilities. No, he's a life coach. He's just here to help you have a better marriage, a better savings account, a better spirituality, and to stop being gay. That's all it's here for. But folks, what that creates is a sad trade-off. A sad trade-off. The gospel then is not good news for sinners anymore. It's all right news for religious people. It's pretty good. It's all right, okay news for church people. And words like grace, faith, hope, forgiveness, atonement, salvation, and redemption become words with very little meaning. Very little. Our churches have been captivated for so long by an addiction to spirituality and morality that we do not even recognize or even care anymore that the very people Jesus came to seek and save are the people we strive so hard to keep out of our safe, predictable, comfortable communion. One of my favorite theologians, Dr. Robert Capone, writes this. He says, quote, Christianity is the proclamation of the end of religion, not of a new religion, or even the best of all possible religions. And therefore, if the cross is the sign of anything, it's the sign that God has gone out of the religion business and solved all the world's problems without requiring a single human being to do a single religious thing. End quote. The American church has been exposed as a gospel-less, graceless, Christless religion. The only way forward, friends, is to go backward. To go backward to the roots of our faith and confession. We open every service with it, don't we? It's to go back to the gospel. The gospel that says you are saved because Jesus saved you and for no other reason whatsoever. You and him ain't tag team partners in your salvation. You never were and you never will be. You see what the gospel does then? If that's true, do you see what it does? If it's true that I was saved by sheer grace, 100% Jesus, 0% me, do you know what that does? It frees me to worship in spirit and in truth. See? I don't have to go to Samaria to worship. I don't have to go to the temple and do anything. I can fellowship with my Creator anytime, any place, no matter where I am or what I've done. You see, though every day we still sin against our God, Christ comes every day and reclaims us as his own, cutting us loose from our need for the dope of religion. That's what he was doing with the woman at the well. Was cutting her free. He said, sweetheart, you don't have to worry about none of that crap no more. You don't have to worry about Samaritan sacrifices or Jewish sacrifices. All you got to worry about is me. I'll take care of everything. That's why I've come. I've come to take care of everything. I've come to not show you the right mountain to sacrifice on. I've come to be your sacrifice once and for all. You ain't got to get to God, honey. God's come to you. Don't you see what that means for you today, friend? The baby and that manger came specifically to crucify your religion, to set you free, to live, love, and hope in Him. In Him. In Him alone. And then go announce this ridiculously good news to everyone you meet who is still crushed under the weight of religion. And friends, that's pretty much everybody you meet. It's pretty much everybody. And if that's you here today, you would say, yeah, I feel that. I feel the weight of religion. If that's you here today, you just feel crushed by religion. You feel like you just can't measure up. You can't check all the boxes. Christ has brought you here today to say this to you. He says, come to me, you weary and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. That, friends, is what Christmas is all about.